Ladies and gentlemen, are you ready? Shit's about to hit the fan. Welcome to Unsanctioned Thursdays on Wrestling with Freddie.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Unsanctioned Thursdays. With me is Jeff Dye. I'm Freddie Prinze. Let's just start the damn thing. AEW and WWE are very different types of promotions. One is for sure more for the hardcore fans, and one is much more family friendly. And nothing was more evident of that difference than AEW's All Out. I want to start with the last match, if we could, Jeff. Or
let's do it.
With the steel cage match, if we could, because it went through areas that I'm uncomfortable with, that make me look away. And I don't mean that in a bad way. I know people like it, but Swerve Strickland and Hangman Adam Page hate each other. Their characters hate each other. I'm sure they like each other in real life. And Hangman Adam Page burned down Swerve's childhood home. Now, Swerve is not innocent in this. He did a lot of bad stuff too earlier.
What do you think about that? Let's talk about that. Well, what do you think about?
It was very WWE, like it was very Brian Pillman, Steve Austin, like very much so. So for that, I gave it some love, and like that it was a throwback to that kind of a story. And I like when they have a reason why. We've talked about that a lot. And these two gentlemen have a reason why. Adam Page has hinted at it since his return. I freaking hate you. I hate you, Swerve Strickland. I'm going to do everything I can. He's screaming the whole time. I'm going to do everything I can to destroy your life. I'm going to take everything away from you. You're not going to have it. Like and Swerve Strickland is the opposite, right? He plays it cool and he's like, see, you already lost your cool. That's why you're not going to be able to do shit to me. And that's why I did everything to you, because I'm in control and you're out of control. And so they're very opposites in the way they speak, opposites in the way they wrestle. One of them was willing to cross lines that the other one was not. I'll stop beating around the bush for those who haven't seen it. Well, Jeff, you tell them what Hangman Adam Page thought would be a good thing to do in a wrestling match, because it makes me nauseous.
I loved it. I absolutely loved it. I'm still living this strange teenage boy that's like, did you see ECW? And then he took out a bag and he hit him with it, and it turns out it was full of thumbtacks, and then he threw him off the second level into 75 tables, and they went through I'm very much still that wrestling fan. When Hangman hit Swerve with the chair shot, I'm going to call it the chair shot from hell.
Oh my God.
It looked, I don't know if maybe the chair was gimmicked in a way that it broke the way that it did.
I hope so. I friggin' hope so.
But maybe if it wasn't that, he hit him so soundly with the chair that it did that unique thing where your head goes all the way through the chair and it's kind of hanging around your neck like a prop. I've only seen that a few times. I've definitely never seen it the way it was done this time. But I've seen in the past where their head is hanging through and the chair is still on their neck. It was absolutely brutal. And there's a lot of fan shots of it that they show like on YouTube and all the places you can see like different angles of it. And it's just absolutely brutal, but it's my favorite type of thing.
Jeff, the chair shot, as brutal as it was arguably the most brutal part of the match, because Hangman Page pulled something else out of a bag and decided to put it through another man's face.
Yeah. Needles.
He got a syringe. Granted, it was sterile. They made sure we saw it was sterile. He took the cap off. So, wrestlers are very safe too. I've never seen this in a wrestling match. I don't know if it's happened before. Maybe there's some crazy hardcore company where this is their thing. We're having a syringe match, a dirty syringe match. Winner doesn't get Hep C. But I had to look away from the screen. I couldn't watch a needle go through a dude's cheek. I couldn't do it when I saw Jackass, when they put the hook through Steve-O's cheek and then threw him into the water so they could fish for sharks. I don't know if anybody saw that, but I'm not making that up. That's what people did for jokes in the early 2000s, I guess. But I couldn't watch that, and I couldn't watch this. I legit had to look away, and I was just grateful none of my kids or my wife walked in and said, "What the hell are you watching?" It was so gruesome, which is what they went for, so congratulations. But I'm 48, getting close to 49 years old, and my weak ass couldn't handle it. I guess you loved this too.
I mean, we had staple guns, we had chairs, we have needles. There was no no limits for this kind of thing. The needle is definitely the one that makes people look away because people have problems with needles in their lives. Like you just said a second ago, I also have never seen it in wrestling. So they found a new thing to make people cringe about. But go ahead.
No, that was it. It was gross and horrible, and I couldn't handle it. So I'm not going to talk about it. But the match was great. I heard Swerve's taking some time off. That's the word on the Ethernet. So that's the way you take time off. You get KO'd by a friggin' chair, and now Adam Page will get the story that he's going to get and pursue the title he's going to pursue because he's a title guy. And yeah, dude, this was hard. It was too hardcore. So I'm moving on. Brian,
yeah, it's strange they wanted to even do that, to be honest. You know, they did the burnt wood thing from Swerve's house.
They're so hardcore, man.
But to put a needle through Swerve's mouth, like, I wonder if, I know we've had Swerve on the podcast a couple of times, but he's, you know, we don't go too crazy with the questions when he's been on, but like, do you think he's into this kind of pain stuff? Like, was this his idea maybe? Like,
I know next time we have him on, we're asking him whose idea was the syringe through the mouth. And I bet you he says him. These guys always pitch you to do something to them, not them to do something to you.
Right.
So I feel like it was his idea. He's like, you know what you should do? Put a fucking needle through my face. And Hangman Page was like, yo, what? You mean to do what, bro? Put this through my face. Fuck it, all right.
Also, from a very brief browsing of the social media, like I watched it probably hours after it happened, or it was the next morning. So whatever, however long that is, it didn't seem like people liked it on the internet. It didn't seem like a lot of people on the internet, from what I saw, were like, people wonder why more people aren't watching AEW. It's because of crap like this. And then some people were like, cut this shit out. Like, it's gross. You know, like a lot of people were not. It was gross. From what I saw, it didn't seem like a lot of people were on board with the needle through the cheek.
All right. I'm not alone for once. For once. And I appreciate that, people. I'm glad you guys are on my side finally. All right. So we heard about that. By the way, the cage was awesome. I
like the cage.
I love the cage a lot. The ref in the neutral shirt was awesome. I thought that was cool because it was an unsanctioned match. I wonder if you even need a ref in an unsanctioned match, but I thought they handled it cool and gave him a reason. So that was all good. Next up, somebody else who could be taking some time off, MJF, Maxwell Jacob Friedman versus Daniel Garcia. MJF is going to try before he's done to put every single person in this company over and help make them stars. It's not all on him. I think Daniel Garcia is incredibly talented, but he is trying to help build this company with every match he does. And I just think that needs to be said before we get into this kind of stuff. It's not always, even if he wins, he'll find a way to make you look good the way he did in this match. So MJF is going to be out for a while, as was Daniel Garcia. But what's next for Daniel Garcia? We mentioned him over a year and a half ago when he was in a storyline and he was conflicted between Chris Jericho and Bryan Danielson. Are you a sports entertainer, Daniel, or are you a professional wrestler? Are you with Chris Jericho and that WWE bullshit, or are you with me and this AEW real shit? And Chris Jericho's the opposite. Are you with me? Are you a sports entertainer, or are you just a professional wrestler? Almost like it's a dirty word. And he was so vulnerable in this storyline that I remember talking about him being like, dude, this guy can act, man. I don't like the dance thing he does, but I like everything else about Daniel Garcia. I don't like the dance thing. But again, I'm old and can't dance as good as him. It's like bald guys hating on guys with great hair.
No, it's not always a jealousy. You can just not like things.
Maybe. I wish I was a better dancer. But anyway, Daniel Garcia is now in a position to finally get a push. They just have to have an opponent in front of him, an opponent that he can legit beat. He cannot lose again. He lost to MJF. Even though he wins, he lost that match. So the next storyline he's in, he must be the winner if you want to build him. It's like what WWE did with that Giovanni Vinci guy. Like, how are you going to give him all this promo, all this hype, the Ferrari, the vignettes, and you're going to have him come out and lose in 3 seconds because he wasn't ready to Apollo Crews? Like, you put him over to job him out? Like, I don't understand that booking at all. So there has to be something with Ryan Garcia. I was nervous about the Hook thing. They gave him Chris Jericho. Now they're giving him Roderick Strong. So they had a plan for Hook. It makes me think they have a plan for Ryan. I just don't know who's going to be next. It doesn't have to be a title. He doesn't need a title. He has a lot of emotion in him. His promos are full of emotion. He's really vulnerable. He comes off legit. He comes off like a humble working class guy, like a John McClane. That's the second time I've talked about him on this podcast. But yeah, like there's so much to like about him. This match was wonderful. And I'd say his strongest personality trait is his vulnerability. That's in talking about Daniel Garcia. He makes you care about him. He makes you care. And that's a hard thing to do. I didn't really see him click as a heel, but as a babyface, I think it can really work where he's that guy that has to climb the mountain, and the mountain's so hard to climb. So he's going to fail for the title a lot. But when he finally gets it, it's going to mean so much friggin' more. I loved this match. This podcast loves MJF, and this podcast likes Daniel Garcia a lot. I think there's a lot there. I hope that you like the match, and I hope you feel the same way. We're not talking about chops. We usually agree on these wrestlers.
It is true. I like Danny Garcia, big MJF mark. Danny Garcia is great. He's undersized, which
most of
usually
AEW
I'm not usually crazy about. He seems to be inspired. I know this is a hell of an allegation to say, because wrestling, you're allowed to steal things. I guess you can just do people's moves and use people's everything. And whenever it gets pointed out, people go, oh, that's wrestling. You're allowed to do that. But I do see a lot of him being inspired by Randy Orton, it appears. Especially after he did the pile driver to MJF off the second turnbuckle, which was absolutely incredible. He kind of did this crawl to him that was I was like, oh, there it is. I've always kind of felt like he's doing a Randy Orton thing, but when I saw that, I was like, I'm going to mention this on the podcast. But I will say, grosser than straps, grosser than slaps, grosser than needles through the lip. Daniel Garcia spitting in MJF's face, the biggest lug spit I've ever seen in my life, might be the grossest thing I've seen in wrestling.
The spit is this. We're going to sidetrack here, but because this is too good, but the spit is the worst sign of disrespect, literally and figuratively. I remember in the state of California, it's considered assault. If someone spits in your face and you knock them the fuck out, you are not going to jail. They assaulted you and you defended yourself. And my godfather, who was Bob Wall, he passed away about 1.5 years ago. Sorry, I loved him a lot, so I get a little choked up. But he was a really tough son of a bitch, and he was the one that got me hip to that. He said, someone spits in your face, you have to beat them until they cry. And I was 13. I was like, why? He goes, because then they'll never forget. And I was just you got to beat them till they cry. So that was our motto when I was a kid, and he was kind of helping raise me up because I didn't have an old man, so he was kind of my dad. But yeah, he was so hardcore, and it was all about that spit in the face. And he got away with fighting guys who didn't spit in his face, but he'd just go start fights, beat their ass. And when the cops would show up, he'd go, "What do you want me to do?" The guy spit in my fucking face. And the cops would be like, "Oh, well, you had to. That's assault in this state. So yeah, you defended yourself." And he's like, "All right, gentlemen, have a great night." And we would go home, and he would fight in front of us. He didn't care. He just loved fighting. He was an old school karate guy that used to train with Bruce Lee and trained Bruce Lee when Bruce came to America. All those guys trained each other because they all had different styles. But he was one of the toughest dudes on earth, man. And that spit in the face thing, he was like, "Yeah, they spit in your face. You beat them till they cry, Freddie. Beat them till they cry." Sounds like Vince. He didn't sound like Vince in real life. We had some other great matches as well. Plenty of matches on the card to talk about. We won't have time to get into them all, but we will talk about Will Ospreay because he's just too sick at wrestling, man. I don't understand how I haven't seen him screw anything up yet. And if he has, he's so good that he just kind of flowed through the screw up so that you don't even notice and moved on to something else. I've never seen the dude make a mistake, or he's so good that I'm so dumb that I can't see the mistakes. But it's watching him.
See it if there was.
Dude, it's like watching a magician. It's like watching that guy that freaks everybody out, the street magician guy. I don't remember his name.
David Blaine.
David Blaine, yeah, where you're just like, hold up, dude. How the hell did you just do that? You were standing still and did a backflip with a twist and kicked 6 guys in the head and landed on your fucking pinky toe and on the top rope. Like, I just don't understand. It's like watching Looney Tunes cartoons and seeing and seeing shit for the first time every time. I think he's so and he's wrestling a dude who was him before he was him in Pac. Like, Pac used to be in WWE and he was the one doing the crazy shit. And everyone was like, oh, he's going to get hurt. He's going to get hurt doing all this crazy shit. And then you see him and he's just awesome all the time and he's not getting hurt. And you wonder why you limit these wrestlers when they're complete professionals and friggin' know what they're doing. And Will Ospreay's one of those guys where, yeah, maybe everybody shouldn't do everything he does. But he's physically gifted enough that he can get away with everything he does and not put himself in at greater risk than what he feels is necessary. Because there's risk in wrestling no matter what. But he's not crossing any line that he's not comfortable with. And everything looks so awesome and so great. And now he's going to fucking wrestle Ricochet. He's going to fucking wrestle Ricochet, who, if you guys remember, I gushed about this dude when he wrestled Santos Escobar in their World Cup Classic thing that they tried to get over. And then I was educated that that was a match they had in Lucha Underground. So I went back and watched the Lucha Underground match, which was better than the WWE match, by the way. And now these two dudes are going to put it all on the line. They're the kind of guys that can give you a match of the year. And I heard Jeff and our producer Alex talking at the beginning of the show, like, we don't appreciate the wrestling that we're in. We look back at it in hindsight and we identify it as great. This can be one of those matches that people remember, that wrestling fans, not everyone, not Joe on the street, they don't watch wrestling, but that wrestling fans can remember forever, as long as they give us a reason why. Otherwise, it's just a great match. And that can be cool too. Shelton Benjamin versus Shawn Michaels, Monday Night Raw. No reason why. One of the greatest matches I've ever seen. Not shitting on that at all. But the reason why is what makes me care and remember even more and like to share that stuff. But that's still one of the greatest matches I ever saw. Shelton Benjamin, Shawn Michaels, Monday Night Raw. Check it out on YouTube. It's awesome. Jeff, I know you love Will Ospreay, but did I miss anything?
Not at all. I love both those guys too. And I think this is, I know all eyes are on Will Ospreay because they should be. He's a star. But I'd like that this gives a little more eyes to Pac, who I think has been very underrated as a wrestler. Like, everyone acknowledges that he's great, but he should be a bigger star too.
He's good on the mic too.
When he was in 205 Live as Neville, I remember being like, dude, this guy's like a star. And if you could just find a place that recognizes that. And so when I saw that he went to AEW, I was like, yes, that's huge. I remembered him back in the day, or not back that far, but back when he was at 205 Live, and I was like such a big fan. This Ricochet thing with Will Ospreay is going to be huge too, because the only reason Ricochet has a paycheck in AEW is because of Will Ospreay putting him over randomly in a promo. Do you remember, I
sort of do remember that. Yeah, I sort of do. Yeah, it was like an invitation to come wrestle. Yeah.
He was just saying, like, they're idiots over there. The fact that they're not using Ricochet. He used to watch Ricochet with like this guy. Look at this guy.
Yeah.
So I'm excited to see what they come up with. And they're clearly very close. So it's going to be awesome. Whatever they do is going to be awesome.
All right, Jeff. Finally, we're closing out with Bryan Danielson versus Jack Perry, the scapegoat. And we don't have to talk about the match because the end of the match was awesome. And Jack Perry, with a very defiant FU, takes the loss. They had 2 defiant FUs. They were performed differently, which made it okay, but they did do 2 of the defiant FUs in the same show. But this was betrayal after the sweetest smile ever. Like, Bryan Danielson is about to get jumped by Christian and the patriarchy, because Christian has a contract that lets him challenge for the belt anytime he wants. And he wants to be the one to retire Bryan Danielson, because Bryan's wrestling without a contract as the world champion. And here they come. He gets attacked by this guy named Luchasaurus, who they call Kill Switch, I think now, or Kill Switch, Kill Shots, Swerve's move. Kill Switch. We're like, yo, what the hell? Jack Perry's like, yo, what the hell? You used to be my boy. What's going on? And all of a sudden, here they come. And we're like, oh, crap. Bryan's going to be retired early. All of a sudden, here comes Bryan's group, the Blackpool Combat Club, with Neville, with Pac, Wheeler Yuta, and Claudio Castagnoli. And here comes friggin' Jon Moxley. And Jon Moxley was actually the first one out there, just standing there looking buff in a white t-shirt. Like, what are you going to do, Christian, you punk ass bitch? And Christian's like, I'll see your ass later, you son of a bitch. And all the rest of the guys come out, and then they go in the ring and they cut to this close-up of Bryan Danielson, just kind of having this, he's got this nice guy, tough guy smile where he's like, my fucking dogs, man, they showed up. They got my freaking back. That's what's up. Well, they did not have his back, Jeff. They came out there, and basically Jon Moxley is the head of the Blackpool Combat Club, and he doesn't want Christian to get the belt. He wants that belt. He doesn't want Christian to retire Bryan Danielson. He wants to be the one. And Blackpool Combat Club is kind of like we rank you in like a street gang. Like that's how Wheeler Yuta got in. He had to wrestle everyone and take a beating, and then he was in the club. They didn't so much do that with Pac, because Pac ain't having that bullshit. But that's kind of their MO. So I guess this is going to be his ranking out of the gang. Like, oh, you want out the gang, and you're going to get your ass beat out the gang. And they all turned on him except Wheeler Yuta, who was like, no, come on. It was very Goodfellas, where he's looking at his brother get beat up and then thrown in the hole. It was beautiful. I loved watching it. It was sad. They put a bag over his head and tried to suffocate him for over a minute, which was weird and defied the laws of physics. But other than that, it was pretty badass, man. And it made me sad in the good way. Yeah, murder is bad. And we should just end with that. Murder is bad. I want anyone to think I'm pro-murder.
You nailed it. Murder is bad.
What did you think of the Betrayal?
It felt old school wrestling, which is what I liked. It felt very, the locker room's coming out. Who are they with? It's kind of got that Monday Night Wars vibe of like, is it NWO? Is it, whose side are they on? Is this?
It even felt almost older to me, like almost like NWA, like Flair turning on Sting when you're like, I knew you were going to turn, but you made me believe, you son of a bitch. Tag him in.
It has that real pursuit of power. It has this like, power can corrupt, it isn't about friendship. It's about you have something I want and now you will be, it's got this old school feeling of like, I'll do anything to get that belt, to have that championship. And I like that story.
And Moxley's the perfect guy for that, Jeff. Like I know they call Jacob Fatu the werewolf because Corey Graves is more relevant in the wrestling world than I am, but I call Jon Moxley the werewolf because he talks like one, he looks like one, he wrestles like one. Like when he lets himself get scruffy, it just looks like what you'd be in a werewolf movie, like after 100%. The night's over when you recover. So to me, he's a werewolf. I really like this dude a lot. He's so badass, and he's just kind of like, he said this in a promo, but he's the heart and soul of AEW. Like he's that hardcore blood every single match. I'm going to bleed every time. AEW guy. He'll do the chops. He'll take the chops. He'll let you punch him right in the face. He doesn't care as long as you're cool with him punching you back. But I like Jon Moxley a lot, and this is going to be a really cool story of brothers that betrayed one brother that betrayed another. And is he going to be able to take him down? Because now Daniel's going to have to deal with everybody. And I love that.
I also think that Jon Moxley might have been the only guy in the locker room who saw that needle through the lip and thought, how come we never did that? How come I never thought of that? Yeah. Oh, that was cool, man. I've never done that one before,
You're dead on. I think you're absolutely right. You guys, no listener reviews for the Thursday show. Make sure you give us those reviews. I'll read them on the air. I'll shout you out. If you just want a shout out, all you do is, hey, man, show's cool. Shout me out. And I'll say that and shout you out. Anyway, thanks for tuning in. Tell your friends, tune in every Wednesday, tune in every Thursday, or whatever day you tune into us. Keep doing it. On behalf of Jeff Dye, I'm Freddie Prinze Jr. This is Unsanctioned Thursdays. Peace.
This has been a production of iHeart's My Cultura Podcast Network. For more podcasts from iHeartRadio, visit the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you listen to your favorite shows.